Chair of the Presidential Task Force, Honorable Ministers, DG of the West Africa Health Organization, thank you for joining us today. Gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. As we continue in this phase of the lockdown and we prepare for businesses to start work, there's been a lot of pressure on testing. So we've got a lot of queries around rapid diagnostic test kits and on companies intending to test their entire workforce before people are allowed back into work. So I decided to use this opportunity today to talk a little bit about rapid diagnostic test kits. Now, nothing will excite us more if there was a validated kit available. But at the moment, we don't know of any. And very often we are asked, will it not be good to have a cheap test or a 15-minute test or a 20-minute test? And my standard answer to everyone is, before we can consider time and cost, the first consideration is, does it work or does it not work? If it doesn't work sufficiently, the considerations of time and money are misplaced. Recent data out of the US showed that a certain kit that was invested in was right 50% of the time. So you can imagine if a test kit that you're using to say whether you have a disease or not is correct 50% of the time. So it means it's very hard for any physician to make a valid conclusion on those test kits, as we know them at the moment. So we'll keep working on this. In the meantime, we're relying on our PCR testing capacity, which we continue to build up. Like the Honorable Minister said, he just opened a lab in Edo State yesterday. We have pending requests from His Excellency Governor Mohammed Abubakar in Jigawa State and Governor Kaede Fahimi in Ekiti State, both who have invested in new labs for their states that we're preparing to come and see if they're okay and open and activate. This is at the same time while we are planning probably what will be the biggest transformation of laboratory medicine in Nigeria by the end of this outbreak. If there will be one legacy that will come out of this outbreak, it will be the state of laboratory practice. So if I was a medical laboratory scientist, I would be honing up my molecular diagnostic skill sets, because you will be expected, there will be a lot of demand for those skills across the country as we focus on building up this capacity across the country. Our immediate target is one lab per state, but those that are following carefully will see that certain states already have much more than one lab. The lab in Edo State, where the Honorable Minister opened yesterday, is the third molecular diagnostic lab in Edo State. So if I were any state government, I would be pushing hard in this direction, working with the federal government, pulling resources to maximize the opportunity that this crisis presents. In addition, so far we've trained 880 people, professionals, on sample collection, packaging, and transportation. One of the biggest challenges we've had in testing is that the samples get into the lab are so badly packaged and often have leaked out completely or come without forms that they eventually make a wasted effort. So we've been working very hard to train people across the country. Yesterday, Kakovid finally put in 47 million naira into sample transportation. So the private sector is coming on as well. Kakovid, as you know, is a collection of corporate Nigeria, and they put in funding going directly into the private courier firm that is supporting sample transportation across the country. So everybody is now coming together to make this system work. In Lagos, we're currently rehabilitating the Central Public Health Laboratory, which was really the beginning of public health laboratory services in the country, bringing it up to speed, and we hope that that alone will add a capacity for 1,000 tests per day into the public health laboratory system. So we're working very hard to increase the PCR capacity while hoping that in the meantime we will have an easier test method. Dr. Okolo here, who's DG of WAHO has supported us extensively and continues to in providing reagents for testing. So have Africa CDC, so have the Jack Ma Foundation, the UN family, and everybody really come together to support the escalation of testing, but we have to use the methods that work. There are various organizations selling what they call antibody tests. It's important to understand what an antibody test is. When an antibody test works, it only tells you if you have been exposed and infected. It doesn't tell you if you have an active infection or not. Therefore, on its own, it's very difficult to use to make a clinical decision. So I will really encourage everyone as we begin to plan to go back to work, whether you're an employee or an employer, to really focus on prevention. Testing your workforce with the methods that we have available will only tell you if that individual has the virus at this point in time. It doesn't tell you if he's had it before or if he will have it in the future. So what you end up with, even if he was positive, is yes, he's infected now. But if it was negative, it gives you a false sense of security around his susceptibility to future infections. So it's important that as we open our industries, as we open our services, we really think about the measures that we've continued to advise everyone to carry out and leave testing for the purpose for which it is there. There's a growing black market on rapid diagnostic test kits in Nigeria. We have to be careful in what we buy and how we use it and how we interpret the results that it provides. So on Friday, the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria will be holding a press conference at 11 a.m. They will have some announcements around RDTs. They will also have an announcement around the work we're doing together to enable private sector labs take on their responsibility on testing and supporting the work that we do. So I invite all of you here to join that press conference tomorrow that will be called by the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria. And for us, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to really push every state to increase their testing, increase their collection, and we really ask everyone to support us on this. The labs are ready, they have reagents, the entire infrastructure is ready. We now need physicians, public health practitioners, states, and people, citizens. If you're sick and you feel you meet the case definition, please have the confidence to approach the public health infrastructure to find out if you have this disease or not. Only through doing that will we be able to manage you successfully and prevent further transmission. Thank you.